They always said Jason had charm. That classic grin, the way he could talk himself out of any mess, the way people, especially our parents, bent over backward to justify his choices. Me? I was the quiet one. The reliable one. The one who kept the lights on. I remember being 15 and watching Jason sneak in past midnight, reeking of weed and gasoline. He'd crashed Mom's car into a lamppost, and I thought, this is it, he's finally going to face consequences. But the next morning, Mom was baking him pancakes. Dad slapped him on the back and said, "You're lucky, boy." Meanwhile, I was grounded for not reminding Jason to be home on time. That's how things worked in my family. When Jason failed, someone else paid for it. Usually me. When I graduated top of my class in college, they didn't come to the ceremony. Jason had a court date for a minor DUI. Guess which event they went to? I shouldn't have been surprised that my parents saw him as the sun and the rest of us just orbited around him. Still, I clung to this delusion: one day, Jason would change. One day, they'd see me for more than what I could provide. Turns out, that one day never came. The first crack appeared so quietly that I almost missed it. Andrea started laughing at Jason's jokes more than mine. At first, I brushed it off. Jason was charming, he could win over a stone wall. And Andrea? She always humored him. That's what I told myself. Then her texts became more guarded. She set a password on her phone. She started getting mysterious work calls and going out for last-minute errands. I asked if something was wrong. She smiled and said I was being paranoid. One day, Jason showed up at our house while I was out. Said he needed to crash for a few days. His lease was up, and he was in between jobs. I didn't even think twice, he was my brother. He stayed for 2 weeks. That's when I started noticing things. 2 wine glasses in the sink when I hadn't had a drink. Her perfume scent lingering on Jason's hoodie. Once, I came home early and heard them laughing in the backyard, intimate, soft laughter. The kind Andrea used to save for me. I stepped outside, and they both looked startled. Jason recovered quickly with some stupid joke. Andrea's smile didn't reach her eyes. My gut twisted. But the final blow came on a Thursday night. I had been out of town for work. Landed early. Decided to surprise Andrea. It was around 10 p.m. when I pushed open the door. The house was dark. Too quiet. And then I heard it, low voices. Whispers. The rustle of fabric. Something I wasn't supposed to hear. I stepped into the living room, and my heart stopped. There they were. Jason and Andrea. Her shirt halfway off. His hand on her thigh. Their faces flushed, not with guilt, but with lust. Andrea screamed. Jason didn't even move. He looked me dead in the eyes and said, "I guess you weren't supposed to be home until tomorrow." That was it. No apology. No remorse. Just that trademark smirk I'd grown up seeing. That arrogant, unbothered expression, like he'd earned this. Like I didn't matter. I don't remember driving to my parents' house. I was in a daze, the kind where your limbs move but your brain is somewhere else. My hands were trembling on the steering wheel, and I felt like my chest had been cracked open and filled with acid. I needed grounding. A place to breathe. I thought. Maybe they'll understand. Maybe for once, they'll see what Jason really is. When Mom opened the door, I looked like a ghost. She ushered me in, worried. "Peter, honey, what's wrong?" I sat on the edge of the couch, hands shaking. I couldn't even speak at first. Then I finally said it. Jason slept with Andrea. I expected shock. Fury. Some kind of anger on my behalf. But instead, Dad looked away, and Mom's lips parted slightly. No denial. No questions. You. You must have misunderstood, she said weakly. No. I walked in on them. Silence. Then Dad leaned forward. Pete, listen. These things happen when a marriage is under strain, under strain. You think this is my fault? Mom put a hand on my knee. Sweetheart, you work so much. Andrea probably felt neglected. And Jason. He's been going through a lot. You know he's not good with boundaries. Boundaries? He F'd my wife on my couch. That's not a boundary issue, that's betrayal. Mom sighed. It's complicated. You've always had everything together, Jason's just trying to find himself. I stared at them, feeling my stomach churn. They weren't just brushing it off. They were excusing it. I realized then, I'd spent my life carrying these people. I paid their bills. I fixed their mistakes. I played the role of the good son while they coddled the one who set everything on fire. I thought if I worked hard enough, they'd finally appreciate me. But they didn't. And they never would. That night, back in my apartment, the one I'd built from scratch, the one they had made their playground, I poured myself a drink and opened up my banking app. Not to check balances. I knew them by heart. No. I opened it to face reality. $1,800 per month for my parents' mortgage. $450 per month for Jason's car. $6,000 in credit card payments for Mom's shopping over the last year. I had financed their lives while they quietly destroyed mine. Every birthday gift Jason gave me. Bought with my money. Every time my parents bragged about how Peter's such a good son, it came with an unspoken asterisk, because he pays for our lives. I'd done it out of duty. Out of love, even. But now. All I felt was rage. I pulled up a document I kept out of habit, my family expenses spreadsheet. I stared at it for a long time. Then I added one more column, final payment date. I stopped everything that night. Every auto payment. Every card. Every deposit. They'd chosen Jason over me. Let him fund their lifestyle now. Let him fix their messes. I was done. But I didn't stop there. I wanted them to feel it. I wanted them to understand that I wouldn't be their puppet anymore. So, I logged onto social media and typed, to those wondering why I've gone no contact with my family, my brother slept with my wife. My parents supported them. I've funded their lifestyle for years. That ends today. If that makes me heartless, then I guess I finally learned from the people who raised me. I stared at the post. Then I hit publish. The post went live at 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday night. By 7 a.m. Friday, my phone was exploding. Missed calls from my mother. A string of angry texts from Jason. Even Andrea had the nerve to send, "Really, Peter? Airing this online? How immature." Immature? Sleeping with my brother wasn't. Standing by while my parents swept it under the rug wasn't. The comments rolled in, friends. Extended family, co-workers who'd seen years of me quietly smiling through family functions with gritted teeth. I always thought something was off. "Peter, I'm so sorry. This took courage. Good for you." But the messages that hit hardest came from people I hadn't heard from in years, cousins. Old college roommates. Even one of Jason's exes who wrote, "He did the same thing to me, but no one believed me." I'm glad someone finally said it. It was like a dam had broken. People finally saw the golden son for what he really was. Of course, the core three, Jason, Mom, and Dad, were furious. Not ashamed. Not apologetic. Furious. Jason left me a voicemail full of insults, trying to spin it like I was the one who'd ruined his life. "You're so cold, man. You always acted like you were better than me. No wonder Andrea came to me. You treat people like crap. That was his logic. I deserved it. No apology. No ownership. And my parents? They sent me a joint email, yes, an actual email, accusing me of disgracing the family, spreading private matters, abandoning them in their time of need. Not once did they say, "We're sorry." Not once did they say, "You didn't deserve this." Instead, they said, "This is just like you, Peter. Always trying to be the victim." That was when the final nail hit the coffin. They had never loved me as a person. They loved me as a provider. Now that I'd removed the credit card leash, I was useless. And that was fine. Because I was finally free. When people talk about going no contact with toxic family, they usually imagine peace. Quiet. A sense of healing. But what they don't tell you is that the storm gets louder before it dies. The next week was a war zone. Mom called every relative she could, painting me as unhinged. She claimed I was going through a mental breakdown and that I had lashed out because Andrea left me. I got calls from aunts I hadn't spoken to in years. "Peter, sweetheart, can't you just talk to your mom? Jason told us you threatened him. Maybe you misread the situation with Andrea." I laughed bitterly at that one. Misread? I told them, I had photos, I had proof. I had witnessed it with my own eyes. But that's the thing about family that's built on favoritism, they'll go blind when it suits them. And then came the money questions. Dad called from a new number, trying to patch things up. He acted like we were fine, like he was just calling to check in. 5 minutes in, it came out. "Just so you know, the mortgage payment didn't go through. Must have been a bank error." I told him I wasn't paying it anymore. Dead silence. Then, "So you're really gonna let us drown because of some drama?" I nearly dropped the phone. Some drama? You watched your son betray me. You defended him. You said I was overreacting. And now you want my money? His voice turned hard. Cold. The mask slipped. "After everything we've done for you, everything I've done for you," I snapped. "I bought you that house. I paid your bills. I cleaned up Jason's messes. And you stood there while he destroyed my life. You made your choice. Live with it." Then I hung up. Blocked the number. I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time that night. Not sad. Not broken. Just tired. Tired of carrying people who would drop me the second it no longer suited them. But beneath the exhaustion was something else. A seed of peace. Because this time, I had chosen myself. There's something eerie about silence when you're used to constant noise. For years, my life was full of it: Mom's daily calls asking for a small favor, Jason's constant messes, Andrea's nagging, and Dad's quiet judgment when I said no to anything. But now, silence. It was unfamiliar. Almost uncomfortable at first. No more messages demanding money. No more calls pretending everything was normal. No more fake family dinners where I smiled while they praised Jason for showing up 5 minutes late. I had space. Real space. Not just physical, but mental. And in that quiet, I found something I didn't know I was starving for: clarity. I started waking up earlier, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I began hitting the gym again, something I hadn't done since Andrea guilt-tripped me into spending that time working on our marriage. I picked up old hobbies. I traveled for work and actually stayed a few extra days to explore, without someone making me feel guilty about not rushing home to handle someone else's crisis. I also saw a therapist. For the first time in my life, I said things out loud that I'd kept buried for years. I don't think my parents ever saw me. Not really. They saw what I gave them. Not who I am. My brother got away with everything. I worked for everything. And they still loved him more. The therapist nodded. She didn't try to fix it. She just listened. It was the first time someone let me grieve the family I should have had. There's power in letting go. Not because it doesn't hurt, but because you stop bleeding for people who never offered you a bandage. They say the quiet always breaks. And it did. 3 months later, just as I was beginning to feel grounded again, my parents showed up, uninvited, at my condo building. The concierge called me. "There's a Mr. and Mrs. Hill downstairs asking to see you. They say they're your parents." I froze. I almost told them to send them away. But something inside me, maybe curiosity, maybe closure, said, "Face it. See what they look like now." I went down. They looked smaller. Mom's makeup was smudged. Dad looked older, like life had finally punched back. They weren't the same smug people who once called me dramatic for being betrayed. "Peter," Mom said, stepping forward. "We need to talk." I crossed my arms. "Then talk." She hesitated. We didn't realize how much you were hurting. We should have listened. We should have believed you." Dad nodded silently, clearly letting her do the emotional heavy lifting. "We've fallen behind on the mortgage. Jason's not doing well either. He's been staying with us." I blinked. "Of course he has." Mom's voice cracked. "We're asking. Can you help us? Just until things stabilize." There it was. Not "we're sorry for how we treated you." Not "we realize we were wrong." Just, "Can you pay for our life again?" I looked at them and felt a strange sense of detachment. These were the people I once bent over backward for. I would have emptied my bank account if they asked back then. Now, I felt nothing but a dull ache of finality. "No," I said. Mom flinched. "Peter, please. We're family." "Exactly," I said coldly. "And family doesn't betray each other and then come back only when the money runs out." I turned and walked away. I didn't look back. 2 weeks passed after that confrontation in the lobby. No more surprise visits. No texts. No voicemails. Just quiet again. But then came one last message, an email from Jason. Subject line: "You really think you're better than us?" It was long. Rambling. Part accusation, part pity plea, part self-justification. He wrote, "I didn't plan to fall for Andrea. It just happened. She came to me. You never paid her attention anyway. You were always too focused on being the golden boy in your job. I was just there. And I loved her better than you ever could." I didn't even flinch. Then came the predictable guilt tripping: "You're leaving Mom and Dad high and dry. They're struggling. You ruined our family name with that online post. Was it worth it just to feel like a martyr?" What struck me was how he never once admitted fault. Not once did he say, "I'm sorry for what I did to you." He ended with, "But go ahead. Keep acting like the hero. Just remember, money doesn't buy family." I laughed out loud reading that. He'd lived off my money for years. He'd slept with my wife. And now he was playing the victim. I didn't reply. Not a word. Instead, I dragged the email to the trash folder. Just like I'd done with their expectations, their manipulations, their gaslighting. Deleting it felt like the final shovel of dirt on a coffin I'd been digging since the betrayal. That wasn't my family anymore. They were just people I used to know. It's strange how peace doesn't come in loud moments. It creeps in during the quietest seconds. When I sip coffee on my balcony and no one's calling me. When I laugh at a show without someone telling me I work too much. When I make plans for myself, just me, and feel no guilt. I moved cities shortly after. Got a new place with no memories, no ghosts. Just clean walls, new light, and space to breathe. I met new people. People who didn't know me as the one who holds it all together. People who saw me as me, Peter, the man, not Peter, the bank account. And you know what? I learned to say no. To protect my peace like a fortress. To keep my circle small. To never explain my boundaries to people who benefit from me having none. I stopped trying to prove my worth to people who'd already decided I was only valuable when I was useful. My therapist once asked me, if your brother had done the opposite, stood up for you, defended you, would you still be supporting him? I said yes, without hesitation. She smiled. Then your problem wasn't your generosity. It was that you gave it to the wrong people. That stuck with me. I haven't spoken to my parents or Jason in over a year now. Andrea tried reaching out once, her new boyfriend left her, apparently. I didn't answer. Because I don't do reunions with people who threw me away. Not anymore. Now, I choose who gets a seat at my table. Now, I choose me. And that's the best revenge of all.